Hey everybody, Rick here, and welcome to another edition of Getting to the Point. And we're trying to soak up as many of these fall days as possible. We're just starting into the fall foliage around here in Northeast Ohio. So the other reason why I want to do it outside is because we're doing another blade style that's kind of a more of a hunting type blade that I designed a few years ago called the Skinner blade. And so I wanted to discuss that blade style with you all, especially the beginning of, I know Ohio, we're right into deer season, bow hunting, and I'm sure a lot of other places around the United States are into the hunting seasons. And even though a lot of you don't hunt, but there's a lot of aspects of the Skinner blade that I think you'll find very useful. That really it came from the heritage of the Old West, the old frontier days, when it was really part of survival, is being able to dress out your game and feed your family. So with that, let's get right into it. So again, the Skinner blade, kind of, it came from you know, more of the like I said, the frontier days. And let me first show you exactly. This is the XM18. This is actually a 3.5-inch skinny Skinner. And some of the attributes of the blade style I can kind of go over to show you where they came from and the usefulness, especially from a dressing game. The front of the blade is probably the most recognizable as a skinning type blade, or a Skinner blade. And what they used that for was was either caping out their game, or actually skinning after they harvest the animal. Then you would have to obviously skin. And the long swooping front of the blade really worked great for keeping that precise cut when you're caping or when you're skinning out the animal. It's really, you want a lot of that cut into that area. And the front part of the blade, usually it's pretty wide, and that, again, that's for that control. That's for that control that you want in that cut. And obviously back in the frontier days and going on through the late 1800s, early 1900s, a lot of pocket knives have Skinner style blades, but most of them were synonymous with kind of like your butcher knives. A lot of butchers use that type of a blade profile. So years ago, when I decided to do a blade where we had some of the characteristics of a Skinner, but at the same time, this is an EDC knife. This is a knife that you're going to carry and use every day. So how does that transfer over into a folding knife? Well, when I first started designing it out, again, I wanted that reinforced, that wider tip, wider front end of the blade, so I can get a lot of swooping angle. You can see that's right here, a lot of swooping angle to that tip. And again, it's for those really fine cuts where you want a lot of the edge into the material. Maybe not as much as some of the other blade styles. This blade style, you're going to have a little more edge into whatever you're cutting. And that could be very useful for a lot of different projects. Or things that you're using out in the field, or wanting to cut out in the field. It's really a pretty useful cutting edge. And I left, again, skinning type knives have this, I would call it kind of like a bulbous type front part of the blade. And so what I did was I kind of replicated that here with this nice swoop up to give us a really nice curve, and then it accumulates at the edge, or at the top part of the blade, to give it that nice downward slope to the very front. And again, that would make it really useful for being able to get those precise cuts. Okay, let's talk about the efficiency of this design, of the Skinner design, when it pertains to the XM18 or some of my my other models. We have this in the XM18 3.5 inch, the XM24, and the XM18 3-inch. So there's a few different models that we have the Skinner, and so the differences in why you would want to choose the Skinner profile over like the drop point. The drop point's kind of close to it, or the slicer. There's a few things that make this a little bit different, especially like the slicer. The slicer is a great blade style and blade grind, but this one's going to have a little bit more toughness on the tip. So if you're going to be cutting, using cutting tasks, say cutting through leather, craftsmen really like this style of blade for, you know, like especially leather makers and things like that, to where if you're going to be using it to cut heavier material, where you want more of the edge into the cut, this is going to be a great knife for that, a great profile for that. Whereas like the slicer, you may not have as much of a front tip toughness for really getting into some of those long cuts. And if you're an outdoorsman, it's a perfect blade. It's a perfect blade style. So my take on the Skinner style blade, and why did I want to design it? Why did I think, hey, you know, there's a need for this style of blade when I had some of the other styles already out there? And honestly, I was thinking more about the hunter, the elk hunter out west, the whitetail hunter in Ohio. What could they use that they could get the most out of their folding knife for dressing out their harvested game? And that really drove me to this blade style. And again, it's a very versatile, it's a really versatile blade style that not only is good for hunters and outdoorsmen and what they want in a good carry knife, but also the everyday person. I think there's a lot of attributes to this blade style that the everyday carry individual would find very helpful. So it's not just for hunters, it's really for everybody who wants a really good, sturdy blade that has a nice sloping angle for whatever cutting tasks they're going to do. So guys, in closing, I'd like to mention to you, again, this is actually the Skinny Skinner. So it's a skinny version of our regular XM18 3.5 inch. And it has a little bit less blade thickness as the regular XM18, which really, the Skinny series really makes a very comfortable carry knife. And the reason I mention that is because one of our great friends and dealers, USA Made Blade, down in Salisbury, North Carolina, Scott just got a batch of these in. Get a hold of USA Made Blade and be sure to pick yours out.